What is up guys, Andy Forrest Team Runner here and welcome back to another video, and today we're diving in and talking about my top 5 long run shoes of 2021 so far according to Strava. So last year I thought it would be a good idea to sit down and go through my Strava and see which shoes I ended up using a lot for long runs and speed workouts, and as I'm injured right now, which we'll talk more about in the training series this weekend, I thought I'd sit down and go through my long run shoes of 2021 so far. It was a really good fun exercise for me to do last year, and actually I can sit here and tell you which shoes are good for long runs and which ones maybe aren't so much, but actually the proof is in the pudding. Let's check the numbers, let's check the number of runs, and let's see which 5 shoes today have made my top 5 so far this year. If you're excited for the video, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with 5th place. So we kickstart things with the Hoka One Torrent 2, a shoe that I've had for over a year now. And what was really interesting when collecting this data is I've run in 13 different shoes for the long run over this year, literally since the first week of January right through to now. But only the top 5, ironically, were the only shoes that had more than one run in them. So we had a good, 8 shoes that we'd just done one long run test in, or just used it once for a one-off reason, whatever that might be. And this is the first one that comes into the list, only being used twice on the long runs. Once was back earlier when we had some snowier, icier weather. Obviously decided to opt for a 14-mile trail run in that shoe, and then we did one more recently with James probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and very sadly, very sadly, I noticed that the shoe is sadly not the same as it was before. Now I don't know if it's just the age of the shoe, but we've only got it to 160 something miles, so it's really not got a lot in it, but kind of a little bit like the Rincon, I've noticed that the foam is starting to go a little bit firm, a little bit harder, flattening out, and I really felt my right ankle turning in when I was using this shoe. So what I thought I'd decide to do as and when I get round to it is give it another test run, see how it fares, see how if it still feels the same, then maybe this shoe is heading for early retirement. But this shoe has served me really well with some incredible long runs last year, incredible runs across mountains, lots of mountain marathon training, and this year we've managed to use it twice so far, bringing up the rear in 5th place. Coming in at 4th place is the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, a shoe I no longer have in my possession. We got that thing up and over 350 miles, and that thing took 43 miles this year, 3 long runs in total. I think a 12 miler, a 13 miler, and an 18-mile long run. Now you guys know I used the bulk of that shoe last year and also throughout this recent marathon training block. Actually, that shoe was used more so in the Canova workouts and the longer workouts that I was doing, but it also did translate to being used on some of those longer long runs as well. Now that is possibly the second heaviest used shoe behind the Nova Blast version 1 that I've had in the last couple of years. It was an absolute gem of a shoe. Very sadly, coming towards the end of its life in that marathon training block, I was noticing just after the 300-mile mark the foam was getting a little bit compressed. Didn't quite have that pop or snap, but I thought I'll see that shoe out through the marathon training block and then we'll retire it afterwards. I felt like it had been such a good shoe leading up to that point that there was no way I was going to leave it halfway through marathon training. So again, an absolute gem of a shoe, and to be perfectly honest with you, the one shoe out of all the shoes I've had over the last couple of years that I would consider buying again, just performance wise and what I used it for during marathon training. I haven't found a shoe yet that did those long run workouts and did those longer workouts quite like the Hyperion Tempo. So that's coming in 4th. Coming in third place, we have the Asics Nova Blast version 2. This also has 3 runs, but slightly longer runs in the shoe, totaling 57 miles. We've done a 20, a 20 and a 17 in this shoe. Now again, just like Nova Blast version 1, which may or may not be coming up next or taking the top spot, you'll have to guess at this point, is a shoe that I just go for those easier and moderate long runs. Nothing fancy in this shoe. If I'm feeling like I need to just recover and relax and do an enjoyable long run, then the Nova Blast has been a shoe, version 1 and 2, a shoe that I have reached for a lot. In fact, actually this one has taken the long runs over the last few weeks. I've not had this shoe long, and already I'm opting to take this thing long. On a lot of occasions, I'm just finding it ridiculously comfy. Again, one of those shoes that for me can just soak up the miles, can soak up the trails that I run on absolutely fine, and a completely enjoyable ride. And again, we're well on our way to 200 miles. This thing will be picked back up as soon as the injury is gone, and we'll be hitting that very, very soon. And that's going to be coming, to be honest with you, from a couple more long runs and some other runs. This is a shoe, for me, this is my #1 go-to shoe for a more easy and relaxed long run. So Nova Blast version 2 coming in third. And that's right, we have version 1 right here coming in second place. So it didn't make top spot, but as you guys know, this is my most used shoe that I've used over the last couple of years. 411 miles in this thing now. I think we tipped out the year, in the beginning of the year, around 350 or something, and I've continued to put a few more runs in this shoe, especially towards the beginning of the year. It was my project to try and take this shoe for as long as it could go before it really started to break down. And to be honest with you, I've walked hundreds of miles in this shoe, and I still consider it a fantastic running shoe. I'd still consider slipping it on and going for a run in it. It's still got tons of life left in it. Yeah, there's a little bit of wear and tear appearing in the upper fabric and a bit of a hole coming here in the toe box, but the foam is perfect. And again, this shoe, I think 4 or 5 runs in this shoe, 60 something miles. I'll put the graphic on screen as to how many miles we've done. So I think the version 2 is definitely going to overtake this at some point, but at the point that we're recording this, this takes second place. Nothing more extra to say other than the Nova Blast, just like version 2, was my go-to easy and moderate long run shoe. If I want to recover, if I want something that's going to cushion my feet, if I want a nice, fun, bouncy ride, this is the shoe I'm going to go for, and that takes second. And the shoe that takes first place is a shoe I don't quite have in my possession right now. It is a Treu's running shoe, The Artist. 6 runs in that shoe, 80 something miles that we've clocked up. The shoe that I have gone to the most for long runs. As you probably gathered, I do still have the Artist shoe. It's in a room I can't quite get to right now. My baby is asleep, hence why I'm talking a bit quieter, so I wasn't going to risk waking him up. But to be perfectly honest with you, I have just nothing but positives to say for that shoe. Why has it been my go-to long run shoe? Because majority of the time I like to do long run workouts, and I just find the level of comfort that shoe gives, plus the carbon plate in the shoe just provides that perfect ride. It's not too harsh, but it's also not too soft. It just sits in that middle sweet spot for me to do anything from easy to moderate pace in the float area, picking it up to marathon, half marathon, and even 10k pace. It covers such a wide range and such an incredible package. 111 miles in that shoe so far, and as you can see, over 75 or 80% of the mileage has been done during the long run. That just stands testament to the fact that I can sit here and tell you all the great shoes for the long run, but which one have I gravitated towards the most? It is the Treu's running shoe, The Artist. So there we go, those are my top 5 long run shoes of 2021 so far. I'd love to hear in the comments below what your best shoes are for the long run this year, and actually not just what you think, but do have a go back through Strava or whatever mileage tracker you use, see which shoes you've used the most. Does that surprise you? Because obviously this rotation has surprised me. It surprised me a little bit. I didn't expect the Torrent to be up in there. I didn't expect to have seen a Atreus running shoe run away literally with the lead. It was right up there with more runs than any of the other shoes, and that's great. It's just great for me to share this sort of information with you guys. So I'd love to know what yours are. Make sure you leave a comment below and let me know what your long run shoes are for 2021. If you enjoyed today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Until then.